you just get tired chasing fame and being pretty all the time? Does it sound like fun? You can do better. Let me show you what a good time looks like. You can do better. You can do better. Let me show you what a good time looks like. You can do better. I dare you to be wilder. My shoes off if I want. Let yourself be free and maybe you will find that there is more to life than being pretty. Honey, let's just face it. Baby, let your head down, be a little wilder. Baby, kick your shoes off, you don't have to hide it. Baby, let your head down, be a little wilder. Baby, kick your shoes off, don't hide it. I don't fit into your box, beauty queens without no flaws. You can do better, I dare you to be wilder. I don't fit into your box, beauty queens without no flaws. You can do better, I dare you to be wilder. I don't fit into your box, beauty queens without no flaws. You can do better, I dare you to be wilder. I don't fit into your box, beauty queens without no flaws. You can do better, I dare you to be wilder.
Hello and welcome to the first ever LinkedIn Live Masterclass. My name is Stephen Farber. I'm the Vice President at Take Flight Learning today, and we're going to jump right into things. I have an amazing guest. Her name is Lucie Tesarova, and she is somebody that I met a little while ago when she was doing something called the Elephant Project. What I thought was interesting about that is it was diving into the lives of people, and I got to be one of those lucky people to help look in, or rather to explore what happened in the past and to see things from a more confident, non-judgmental type of zone. Came to find out that Lucie is a huge EQ buff and a positive intelligence person as well. And I was like, we got to have you on to talk with me about emotional intelligence. So I'm super excited about that. A little bit about Lucie. And this is really what I love is her main goal is really to create a reflective, confidential, judgment-free space to people to explore and to discover things about themselves that help fuel further success and growth. And with EQ, it really comes down to knowing what are high and low EQ qualities and what we can know about how we've acted and behaved in the past to point ourselves on a goal to the future. And we're going to talk about how this directly affects retention, employee motivation, engagement today. And without further ado, I'm going to bring my guest on. Lucie, thank you so much for joining me today. Let me make sure I bring this up. There we go. Lucie, thank you. Welcome to the stream.
Thank you so much, Stephen. I really appreciate you bringing me on. I truly enjoyed our Elephant project. I'll share a little bit about it later. And it's such a joy and privilege to be here and to talk about this topic. I feel I live this topic. So sometimes I just, even, just like fish in the water, sometimes I even don't realize what I'm doing. So actually preparing this presentation for all of us made me really excited and happy to share this.
Awesome.
So thank
well,
you.
well, thank you. And I'm excited, and I hope everybody else here who's either watching this now or watching it later is excited as well, because we're going to bring some real value here. I wish this was like other LinkedIn Lives where we're just going to talk about ourselves and our product. No, nothing like that at all. Today, we're going to bring you real tools to help. And before I forget, I'm going to flash this up on the screen now. This is something me and Lucie have put together, and it's actually, we're going to add to it as we go here. And that is this here. This is a free resource pack that we've created. There's only 3 things in there right now, but at the conclusion of the stream, we're actually going to make sure we put a copy of the recording in there so you can take it with you, watch it later. Obviously, it'll be right here on LinkedIn. We're also going to have a couple of things in there. There is certification info with emotional intelligence with Take Flight Learning. There's a free ebook. There's a link to Lucie's entire which you're going to learn a ton about today, but there's a link to her actual webpage that goes through how she does this for organizations. And there's so much value in it. I don't want to steal her thunder. I'm going to actually leave it there, but that's all there in that link. That'll be up here on the screen occasionally. So keep an eye out for that. And again, come back later. There'll be more in it. But for now, I want to go ahead and turn the floor over to Lucie. And Lucie, I want to start us off here with a question that I think we need to answer right up front. And that is, what is emotional intelligence? I would love to get this from your point of view.
Look at that, asking me my favorite question. What is your point of view? Thank you. From my point of view, emotional intelligence is something that provides us gives us access to joy, peace, and happiness. That would be my own definition, and that's why this topic actually is really exciting for me and really crucial and important, because I see when I work with people, when I even in the country in Europe where I'm coming from originally, I see there were generations of traumatized people, of people that didn't have the luxury to deal with feelings. And sometimes in the work environment also people feel, oh, we need to focus on survival, we need to focus on performance. And they feel maybe they don't have either the luxury to deal with feelings, the soft skills, emotions are often referred to, or they don't have the skills actually, or knowledge how to address that. And I feel this actually, the work that we are doing, informing, educating, training, providing people the skills, can not only transform our culture at work, but our personal lives. And I will actually, if I can, I will jump right in. I prepared for us some tools that can help us and guide me so I don't completely go off track talking about other things.
No, absolutely. And while you're getting that ready, one thing that I did want to say that kind of resonated with me is you talked about how EQ is really the key to just peace and happiness. And the way that I kind of interpret that is that, emotional intelligence isn't a lot like IQ. It's, IQ it can be pretty static for most of our lives. Your IQ is your IQ. And I'm sure there's ways to increase it, but it's not something that's easy. And EQ, while it's not easy to increase, it's very, very doable. You can have an extremely low EQ in certain areas, but you can actually raise that. And a lot of that is knowing what it is that's low, knowing what a low EQ trait is to what a high EQ trait is, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah. So just the knowing is part of the awareness is helping us actually increase our emotional intelligence. And there's a natural aspect, so not just the awareness, but also applying the information. And I loved one of your previous posts on LinkedIn when you said, you know, knowledge is not just power, but applying of the knowledge. And that also comes with the emotional intelligence, actually practicing. There's some I will share a little bit later about two parts of our brains. So one is the analytical, where we receive the information, the awareness. Aha, this is what it means to have a high emotional intelligence. This is why I, you know, should put some energy and effort into learning into this. But also there's another part that I will actually walk us through some mini tiny exercises and to actually practice and tap into the other part of the brain.
Awesome. Yeah, we are more than happy to get started on that. Would you like to share your screen for that?
Yes, let me do that.
Awesome. No worries. And while she's getting that ready, I want to encourage anybody. I am keeping an eye on the comments. Let's see here. Looks like we had one already. Jacqueline, yes, shouldn't be a black screen anymore. We should be up. That might have been a little bit of a delay on my part. So let me know that. And if anybody here is watching as we are doing this or watching later, feel free to put your questions in the comments. I'd be more than happy to ask those here live. We do have a couple that came in before the show, so we'll make sure that we ask those as well.
Please forgive me. I had a little technical challenge here. It didn't show the way I wanted it. So let me just quickly fix it.
No worries at all. And you know, something else that I want to encourage everybody to do here is when we're talking about EQ, one thing in particular that comes to mind is there's 4 components of EQ, right? There's self-awareness, there's self-management, there is social awareness, and there is relationship management. And one of the things that is interesting about each one of these components is they also have talents. For instance, social awareness also has self-awareness has things like emotional clarity in it, and it also has I think self-realization or actualization. I may be getting that one wrong. It's a lot to remember.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Right. But anyway, it looks like you got your stuff up here, so we're going to go ahead and do that. I can go ahead and add this to the stream for you.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah.
So
Perfect.
let's get this party started on engaging, motivating, retaining ourselves and our team members, our workplace, depending what is your role and position in the organization, by leveraging EQ. And hopefully when we share, there will be multiple EQ light bulb moments. And let's get started. So a little bit about me, you've already heard something. So why me and EQ? So I do love asking questions. To my mom's unpleasant surprise, probably it lasted longer than the funny 2-year and 3-year-old questions. Why? And I even get paid for asking questions now. So yay to me, yay to win for doing and asking questions that actually help create part of that emotional intelligence competency. When we pause and ask questions, and I do that to myself all the time. I keep pausing, asking questions. How do I want to feel right now? Is one of the questions. And with Steven, we actually created an intention. How do we want to feel in this presentation? And part of that was fun and connection with all of you. Even though I cannot see you, I definitely would love to hear from you what you're thinking about this. And the first invitation would be to pause and invite you actually. How do you want to feel during this presentation? Do you want to feel present? Do you want to feel open and curious? What would be something that you want to feel? And doing that, just this preliminary practice, can actually support you in improving your emotional intelligence. So even didn't know you are already growing your emotional intelligence muscle during this presentation. Now, as my background teaching, I'm master's in social sciences. As I immigrated from Europe to the US, I did some business, I did some classes. If you want, you can look on my LinkedIn profile about all the details. But what matters here, all the journey took me actually from teaching, business, entrepreneurship, doing anything I could put my hands on in business, then back to coaching/training, till I came across positive intelligence, and I fell in love with it because it provides the scientific explanation and a proof of what I've been sensing and practicing for years. And it actually puts it into a package that it makes it easier for all of us to learn and apply. And I co-founded with one of the coaches actually in positive intelligence, Mind Factory company, that creates what I'm really passionate about. As we've talked a little bit with Steven about Project Elephant, as you can see, I'm really committed to make the impact with the work, because I can see that in the times that we are living, it's not just about this presentation. I want you to also pause and reflect. What would the world look like if all of us had higher emotional intelligence, meaning we could regulate our emotions better? What would it look like if parents could control their anger with their children? What would it look like if politicians could actually talk to each other, provide empathy, even perhaps empathy for each other? What would the world look like? What would be leaders who are able to regulate emotions, who are able to inspire and empower and provide safety at the workplace? What would that look like? So I believe we have a huge development in the artificial intelligence. What about maybe we need like a development in the emotional intelligence? I was saying emotional intelligence revolution, we need really up level these skills in all of us. So maybe there would be no more shootings at schools. There would be no more higher levels of suicides. So this is what I'm passionate about changing that. And all of us together
Lucie?
can change it. Yes.
Yeah, I think you got a, not to interrupt you, I think you got a phone off the hook in the background.
Oh. Do I have a background noise?
Yeah, it sounds like a phone is off the hook.
That is strange.
Oh, that's my phone. I'm so sorry. Ignore me. I apologize.
Oh, good.
I apologize.
No need to.
Yeah, please.
It's a great interruption because now.
Please continue. I'll mute myself. Thank you.
Oh, good. No worries. Thank you. So now, actually, Steven, perfect, because when you were talking, when we were speaking about emotional intelligence, you were saying there's so much of it. It feels like being fed with a fire hose. And that inspired me. I'm like, I know I can completely overwhelm people because I'm so excited. There's so much. So I didn't want you to feel, you're being fed water from a fire hose and drowning in it. So let's imagine having just a tea. So I'm going to share little pieces of that. It's not going to be all, absolutely not. But hopefully the pieces that I'm going to share, that you can take some specific tips and things with you moving forward. So what I'm going to share a little bit about emotional intelligence and how we can leverage that to improve well-being in the workplace. Just like the ginger tea. We're making tea. We're not doing the whole fire hose, just a tea. We'll talk about performance and emotional intelligence and underperformance. How do we motivate people? What do we need to stop doing that actually harms motivation? And what do we need to do more that improves motivation and engagement? And the last segment, we'll talk about retention and relationships and how it goes together. And after each segment, we'll take a mini break and I will speak with Stephen to also ask his perspective. I need to have my questions. So now, before we continue, I want to invite you to actually pause again and imagine what would be our happy end at the end of our session and presentation. I need to also check the time. So we will look at these 3 key things. And under each thing, revitalization, well-being, performance, relationships, or retention, you'll be able to have under each category at least one takeaway, one specific thing that you can actually apply into your life, work life, as well as personal life. And at the end, I encourage you to pay attention to what we are saying with Steven, because at the end, I'm committed to actually making this available. And as a gift, I want to provide, after I ask some questions about this presentation, and to those of you that answer correctly these questions or answer these questions, one of you will actually receive a full access to the full positive intelligence training. And what the positive intelligence training does, you can read more about the brochure. I'm not going to go into detail here. Is it develops 17 out of the 18th competencies of emotional intelligence. Now, so that would be our gift to you for acknowledging you for actually taking the time and committing to improving not just your emotional intelligence, but by doing so also improving and uplifting everybody else around you. So let's start. We already covered what is my perspective on what's emotional intelligence. Now let's see on the definition. So the official definition could be emotional intelligence as ability to recognize, understand, and manage our own emotions. So it has the self category as well as the other category. So we also have the ability to understand, empathize with others, and even influence their emotions. And again, I want to bring the point that especially after COVID, with burnout, with the great resignation and silent quitting, and the stress level going up, I believe this is more important than ever. Besides that, why should we care? So I invite you again to pause for a moment. Would you want that for yourself out of these that I'm gonna list here? Would you want to be able to regulate your emotions better, switch from anger to calm or to peaceful state more easier and faster? Would you like to have deeper connections with others? Would you like to get more done with less effort? So it doesn't have to be so hard and painful. And maybe things could be possible with more ease. Would you like to earn more? Feel happier? Feel healthier? Would you like to have clear boundaries and expectations with others so there's actually more ease in relationships and you know how to win? Would you like to have higher trust with those people around you, be it in your family, friends, or in your work? Would you like to have more energy and calm? Just pause and notice which one or any other one that is not listed would you like for yourself that actually higher emotional intelligence can help you achieve. So I hope you have your answer now. And now let's look from the other perspective. So we looked at yourself first. Now let's look, what would you wish for your team, for your company, for those around you? Would you wish leaders who stay calm under pressure? Would you like to have easy and fun collaboration with others? Would you want the talented people to stay in your company, in your team? Would you want a workplace that people say is healthy? Would you want to feel inspired by your work, motivated? Would you like to work on a team that's aligned with the goals and mission and have as clear vision of where it's going and how to get there? Would you want to feel more acknowledged more often and actually feel fulfilled instead of drained at work? Would you want to have engaged team members? What would be one thing that you would really like in your current work environment that would improve? Now, I want to pause and check in with Steven. Any questions? How is it so far? What out of these resonated with you? What would you say?
Yeah, no, a lot resonated with me. And before I jump into that, I think your mic might be hitting your shirt a little bit or something like that.
Oh,
Yeah, it's just rubbing up against something.
thank you for letting me know. Let me see if I can quickly change the audio settings here.
Yeah, no worries. And what I did want to say that resonated with me was kind of because we're talking about how does this apply to the workplace? How does this apply to team members? Like, it's great that we're here learning about EQ, but how is this going to help employees hang around? How is it going to make them more motivated to want to come and do their job? And one thing I heard you say in the very beginning that resonated with me is simply understanding certain aspects of EQ is actually it's already a step in the right direction. So in the way that I understand that, and because whenever we're teaching EQ and doing certifications, we always say that, you don't know what you don't know, right? And we didn't invent that saying. That's an old one. But for instance, one of my qualities that I didn't realize was low EQ is if I am having something that is terrible happening to me emotionally. Well, normally it would cause terrible emotions, right? Say that someone close to me died. I thought this was a superpower. I actually usually detach from that emotion very quickly. I don't want to feel it. There's probably some stuff that growing up may have happened that have caused me to develop this.
Yeah.
I think school bullying, I think, is something that I had to deal with a lot. And so as a result, I thought, well, this is great. I don't have to deal with these. But the thing is there's like this emotional debt that's created, right? And you got to pay it. So 4 or 5 days down the road, I always end up eating that. And I'm like, why do I feel so terrible today? Why do I feel like I failed? Why do I feel like everybody hates me? And it's like, oh, these are just that really bad feeling that I actually didn't deal with, days before. So that's a low EQ quality. A higher EQ quality, or rather the higher version of that quality, from what I understand, is to actually step back and say, you know what, I'm going to lean into this. I'm going to explore this with what you said, curiosity, which I think curiosity is fantastic if you want to keep judgment out. So bringing wide-eyed open curiosity to it and just saying, that's interesting that it feels this way, and actually exploring it, letting it happen, riding that wave, and then at the end of it, notating that experience. And that's the high EQ version. I thought just skipping out was high, but it wasn't. So that's my response.
I love it. Thank you for bringing that point, kind of like how actually our awareness of something, learning what we didn't even know, can support us in feeling better. So how the information can support us in feeling better. And you're also bringing up another point, how, things from the past, we learn to survive in certain situations, and we keep the strategies that helped us survive. However, the same strategies now may actually be harmful for us. When we disconnect our emotions, then we also from the unpleasant emotions, we also disconnect from the joyful emotions. So it can help us survive, but not thrive or be happy. And actually, that's why I said at the beginning that emotional intelligence can really help us connect us to the joyful, happy, loving feelings. And one more point, I heard you say actually judgment. And that's something that I really want to highlight here. We don't want low emotional intelligence, high emotional. We don't want to have it used as another tool for blaming, judging, pointing fingers at people. I really want to invite all of us to practice even self-compassion. Compassion with ourselves, compassion with others. Anytime we do that, that's actually empathy is one of the key competencies in emotional intelligence. So anytime you notice a thought that's judgmental of yourself, of your colleagues, of your boss, or your employees, just notice. And I'm going to cover it a little bit later. All right. Is this sound a little bit better?
Oh, it sounds way better. And I do want to point out to those of you who are still hanging with us here, I know that we've had a couple of and Lucy, you wouldn't know this because I was looking at the comments here. It looks like our stream might have been a little in and out at the beginning. Do want to say that we have this whole thing's recorded, so you're going to get a nice clean recording at the end of it. When that banner pops up that's showing where the resources are, that recording is going to go in there within a couple hours after this complete. So apologize for the inconvenience there. Little bit of rough, but hey, it's a masterclass LinkedIn Live. I don't know if anybody else does these, so we're gonna have some hiccups here. It takes a high EQ to not go, oh gosh.
Right. We're practicing mental fitness here.
Right. So we are at the half hour mark, Lucie. We only have a couple of questions that have come in, so we'll cover those with 5 till. I'd like to turn it back over to you.
Okay, so let me continue and let's speed up actually so we can cover what I have prepared. So before we even talk about the well-being, retention, and engagement, what are some just summary, what are some low EQ symptoms and high EQ symptoms? When somebody is easily offended, it's on the low EQ symptom. Blaming others, mocking others, people having difficulty connecting with others on a deeper level or trusting others. Could be people having emotional anger outbursts, or the other opposite reaction is completely shutting down. Now, what are some symptoms of higher EQ? People are able to actually embrace change and adapt with more ease, increase motivation. People are able to receive feedback and also give compassionate feedback and positive feedback. They're skilled at actually reading the energy in the room and the dynamics between people. They have trusting relationships. And they're able to stay calm under pressure or even when the tech doesn't work so well. So let's see how we can practice this. And now, with regard to teams, when there is low EQ on the teams, poor team alignment, low engagement, unresolved conflict that takes a lot of emotional energy. Here it is, fatigue and energy drained, and office drama and politics. Some people even call it toxic cultures. When there is low empathy and just focuses on performance, push, how it exhausts and drains people and actually increases chances of people leaving. So the high EQ teams, high trust and collaboration, increased engagement, lower employee turnover, higher profitability actually, even higher wages. People, based on some studies done, even made people with high emotional intelligence made about 30,000 more than their peers with lower EQ, based on one study. So fewer lost time accidents. Now let's continue. Let's start a section of the well-being. So how emotional intelligence improve our well-being? So I'll start always with some numbers. Why should we care? What does the research say? I love research. So here it is. 74% of employees actually in companies with high trust, high empathy cultures, which is a symptom of high emotional intelligence, they have 74 lower stress levels than low trust, low empathy cultures. Imagine that, 74% lower stress levels in their bodies. We all know probably what high stress, high cortisol, constant chronic stress can do to our bodies. Now, 40% of employees in companies actually, employees in companies with high trust, again, high empathy cultures, which are symptoms of high emotional intelligence, experience 40% less burnout. And the same companies, actually, the employees working for those companies experience 13% less of sick days. And this is an amazing number. When I saw that, I was like, wow, 106% more energy? I want that. I want more energy at work always. Now, we had some numbers. What are some specific things that can help us to increase our well-being through actions that are connected to increasing emotional intelligence? So blaming others, self, that shows actually lower empathy for ourselves, for others. So this is to do less. Judging self, others, threatening, pushing uncomfortable emotions away, stuffing them away, eating them away. Ignoring some warning signs could be increased errors, increased accidents, or sickness. Even how we feel energetically, I'm low on energy, fatigue, that could be a warning sign. Something is off. What's happening? And just pausing actually increases your awareness, self-awareness, which is one of the key markers of emotional intelligence. When you notice, when you pause, that already is making a positive difference for you. Just doing that one little thing. Now, breathing exercises, that actually connects to the other part of the brain that I will mention a little bit later. Compassion with self and others. So many of us have, after failing, after not doing what we want, after the project not going the way we wanted, or the way in the timeline that we want, so easy to judge, criticize, blame ourselves and others. Compassion actually increases the well-being of our bodies and the team. Communicating clear boundaries, that is also part connected to emotional intelligence and an outcome. As we are clear about what works for us, having empathy, which is another market of the emotional intelligence, for others, then we can actually set and communicate clear boundaries and expectations with more ease. And being present with self and others. Just being present, even with this presentation, even when we don't see actually each other, just noticing, is your mind going in other places? Are you judging me, Stephen, yourself? It's totally fine. It's part of our human brain, what it does. And I encourage you to actually pause and notice what's going on in your mind right now. How do you feel? Part of building that emotional intelligence muscle, exactly this practice. And as I mentioned, there are two parts of the brain. And this is based off the positive intelligence research and other neuroscience research. One part of the brain is more analytical. There's the survival part of the brain that we act based on what worked in the past. And we do it on autopilot. However, when we are on that autopilot, we can be stuck in the negative cycles of thinking, overthinking, overanalyzing, being in stress. When we can switch into so that's the left side of the brain. The right side of the brain, that's actually that when we feel the emotions of joy, of ease, of calm, peacefulness, the parts of that brain actually highlight on when they do the brain imaging, they activate. And now positive intelligence and other trainings actually help us switch from the analytical brain, or from when we get hijacked. That's the issue actually, because all the knowledge, all the analytical knowledge about emotional intelligence, how do I speak, how do I improve, how do I build the 5 things that I need to do in order to build trust on my team, all of that can go out of the window the moment we get emotionally hijacked. And that's why I'm saying that in order for us to build our emotional intelligence, not only we need to learn using the analytical part of our brains, but also actually learn how to switch from that part of when we are hijacked to tap into the resourceful part of the brain that has the emotions of peace, ease, that creativity, curiosity. How do we switch into that state so then we can respond to other people on our team from that space of calmness? And one of the ways how to do that, to shift actually our emotional state, which again is part of emotional intelligence, is whenever we feel negative emotions, whenever we feel triggered, just stop. I know it's hard sometimes because we do want to send that email, we do want to send that text, or we want to tell them right away, this is wrong how they're doing it. I encourage you, stop, pause. And, oops. If you are in a team meeting and you get triggered, one of the things here is the practical tip. You might already have your own techniques. Some people just take a deep breath. Just take a deep breath, even now as you're listening to this presentation, and notice how you're feeling. There are multiple techniques that scientifically are proven are actually helping us tap into that right side of the brain, where we can get out of the emotional hijack. We can again think clearly. When we think clearly, we can make smarter decisions. When we can make smarter decisions, we can talk with people from a different space of empathy, of curiosity versus judgment and anger. So taking a breath could be one simple technique. Or if you see rubbing fingers, just notice. You can do this gesture as you are in a team meeting. Let me see, I just got triggered. You don't have to say it out loud, but just notice and just sense all the sensations as you are rubbing your hands together. This can be really silly technique. It can seem silly. Oh, I just need to learn. But this actually taps into the other part of the brain. And that's why some trainings don't work if they focus only on the analytical process and doesn't work on the rewiring actually of our brains and making the neural connections stronger of how do we connect, how do we switch when we get triggered emotionally into that part of the brain that actually we can function again and function. There's more intuitive, there's this deeper wisdom. How do we switch into that? And that could be just sometimes taking a breath, doing this with your hands. Noticing when you talk with somebody that said something unpleasant, maybe notice what is the color of their eyes, what their nose looks like. Just putting that attention and focus helps you switch again into that brain. And what kind of competencies just this little practice does, it helps you increase your self-awareness. How do I feel right now? How would I like to feel? That question actually helps you self-regulate. I don't want to be angry with this employee or the team member. How I want to be fair. How do I want to show up? All these questions are actually helping us to become more emotional intelligence and to create more engagement, more performance, better relationships. Now, here's another time to check in.
I'm excited to check in because I have lots of things to say. And hey, there's no technical issues I need to check in with about. Mics are good. The stream still seems a little wonky. I think we have about 7 or 8 people who have been kind of watching continuously, and thank y'all for hanging in there. Again, there's going to be a clean recording at the end of this because what Lucie is saying is really awesome here. And I'm just going to put this banner back up here. What I thought was cool is the rubbing the hands together, because I think with, when we're talking about letting our emotions run away, right? Because we either control them or they control us. We don't get it both ways. What I thought was really interesting is, and I think I was reading a book called Unwinding Anxiety by Dr. I think it's Judson Brewer, something with a B. Forgive me, doctor, if you for some reason are watching this. But he was talking about how anxiety and frustration and those things, they actually take up a ton of our working memory. We can't think straight when we're upset because we don't have the room at all. And if we're not neurotypical, if we're more neurodiverse, like myself, I have ADHD, so I have less room in that part of my brain that actually is functional. As I like to say, my secretary hardly comes into work, and when she does, she's wasted. Like, she never can. It's really tough for me to think. But when you do what you just said, Lucie, whenever you create a sensation with your hands, one that I've heard before is tracing your fingers, just breathing in at the top trace, breathing out at the bottom. Or what I thought was really cool, what I've never heard before, is the person that you're upset with trying to notice something interesting about them. Not to be negative, like, oh, I hate the shape of their nose. It's like, their nose is shaped really interesting. I never noticed the color of their eyes. I wonder why their eyes are hazel. Like, wow, I wonder if this person's cold, if the room's too hot right now or too cold, and we got to be careful because that can very quickly go, well, I don't care if they're cold because they upset me. we got to stay away from that.
Yeah.
But it's like when we stop trying to find a blame ourselves or doing anything else, and we actually step out of our emotions, because I don't think we can just push them away.
No.
We have to actually step out and engage all the sensory functions we can, like you said, which with this, I mean, there's touch, there's sound. Like, why does it sound like that? Why does it feel like that? Why are my hands getting warmer? And, you know, without Googling the answer, I think what you're getting at is it's more about creating that genuine curiosity.
Yeah.
Because if you're curious, you can't really be judgmental because you don't know.
Exactly.
And it's also, I don't know, I think curiosity is kind of its own reward. It kind of activates those same centers. So if you're curious, yeah, these are potential addiction breaking habits in some shape and form. So
absolutely.
Yeah, so that's I got so much from that, Lucie. I could keep talking, but I know we got about, let's see.
Me too.
So yeah, we got about 15 minutes left. So
oh my goodness! So
yeah, we've been covering a lot.
Yes. Alrighty. So let's go to the next section, and looking at engagement and motivation. So again, some statistics here. So 76% higher engagement for employees that work in companies with high trust, high empathy culture, again, high emotional intelligence cultures. 76% higher engagement levels. That's pretty high, this in my opinion. 50% decrease in lost time accident after supervisors receive training in EQ competencies. Look at that, 50% less accidents. And also, people are 50% more productive in those cultures. So here are some few tips. What to do less, what to do more of. Micromanaging decreases engagement, decreases performance. Controlling people, commanding them instead of asking, getting their buy-in. Focusing only on performance before people and their well-being. Even Navy SEALs that are known for high performance, they actually enroll people on their teams or accept people on their teams based on more on trust. They prefer trust number one place over performance. They would rather take somebody with medium performance but high trust rather than somebody focusing on performance only and not caring about the people. Interacting with people when we are triggered. Again, this is our own work where we take a deep breath, we focus, just like we described it before. Using these techniques actually can also help engage people when they feel safer. They can feel more trust. So now practicing positive feedback. Positive feedback actually requires us to get into that other state of our mind when we are curious, when we are looking, what is it that I can appreciate about this person? What they just did right, instead of thinking, well, this is the minimum required that they actually did. Instead, you can say, wow, you really did that. Thank you for being on time today. Encourage the things that people are doing well, both in our teams as well as personal lives, that actually increase engagement. Listening actively, showing empathy, being curious versus judging. Whenever we catch ourselves judging, again, imagine the red bulb, red light, stop. Rub your fingers or hands together, take a deep breath. How can I feel for this person? What am I feeling? What would I want to feel instead? Focus on developing and coaching of people instead of commanding and controlling them. Prioritize trusting. I mean, all of these bullet points could be just a topic for another masterclass. So please forgive me that I cannot go into much detail here. If you would like us to focus on one particular topic, please let us know. I would love to talk about it. Trust, Brené Brown, braving, I strongly recommend. One of the boundaries is one of the topics I've been covering lately. All these help us actually increase engagement in people. Now, I want to give you one specific tip that you can walk away with around this
area, how to improve engagements. As you could see, there were so many things we could do, but what is the one? So I would encourage all of us to remember that emotions are contagious. How we feel, all of us in a way, regardless of your role or position in the company, are leaders, because our emotions impact emotions of others. We have mirror neurons that actually we react to each other's emotions. If somebody is constantly upset, angry, impatient, how do you feel? Do you start feeling a little bit stressed out around that person? Or when somebody is just calm and smiles, doesn't it feel like calming and comforting? It's just one simple example of how we react to each other's emotions. So regardless of your role, you are actually a leader by leading first with yourself. Self-leadership is a big topic that I'm passionate about, and it actually relates directly with emotional intelligence of self-awareness. How am I feeling right now? And self-management. How do I want to feel instead? And how do we shift the emotion? So from the previous mini tab, you now know what can help you switch into the other part of the brain. And there are multiple techniques. I also would encourage you, how do you want to switch the energy in the team? How do you want to raise the energy at the beginning of the meeting? Let's say if you have a meeting, one of the ways, what would be the icebreaker activity? One of them is starting with wins. I actually do it even in my sessions, private sessions, where clients just bring the wins and we celebrate them. Or in the team, another company, we celebrated either acknowledging somebody or themselves or somebody on their team, and acknowledging each other could be another fun activity that actually brings the energy up for the meeting ahead. Asking questions also helps other people to become aware even how they're feeling. So main point of this segment, how to increase engagement, be aware of how you're feeling and what kind of emotion would you want to share with others. And if you're feeling negative emotion, do again the practice stop. Mini quick pause and checking.
Yeah, no, this all sounds great to me. One thing in particular that kind of keeps standing out is how we have to recognize whenever we're beginning to be controlled by our own emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So, I feel like you've covered that well. And when we're talking about employee engagement, we have to acknowledge that everybody's coming to work with something else. Everybody's coming to work with their own mess. They may be having a good day. They may be having a terrible day. They may be completely getting whipped by their emotions at the moment, or they may be in front of it. We don't know. What we can do is what you had mentioned, Lucie, is we can ask questions. And I think how we ask the questions is important. We should keep them open-ended and curious, like, hey, how are you doing today?
Yeah.
If they don't want to talk about it, it's not one of those things you should really push on. It's like, hey, no, I understand. Just know that I'm here for you. I believe in you, and whatever I can do to make your day better, let me know.
Yeah.
And I think it's us positioning ourselves as a constant resource, but at the same time, not acting like we never have bad days, and also not trying to. This is a big faux pas too that we all want to do. We all want to try and identify. Well, we talk about personality styles. Not everybody does, but for the most part, we all have like this need to want to identify with someone else. Like, Lucie, if you're having a bad day, it's like, hey, I know how you feel. Understand that we probably do not know how they feel. And even if we do, it's never going to be a helpful thing. But what we can do is we can let them know that we're here and that we care, and we can share these exercises, these tools. Like, again, the hand tool that Lucie brought up earlier, that's something you can bring to your next company meeting. Like, that is a huge well-being walk away right there. I think that's so cool.
I love that. Yeah, actually, that could be even an activity at the beginning of the meeting. When you see that the energy in the room is low, oh my God, everybody's exhausted, stressed out. This could be one thing all of you could do and share together. I love that.
Yeah. I also want to take a moment to say hi to everybody who stopped into the comments. We've had a decent amount of people watching this whole time, Lucie. And I imagine the majority are going to come back around and grab the recording. Again, there's been a couple of hiccups in the live stream. That's on my end, probably. So the recording is going to be clean. It'll be in this link that's scrolling across the screen right now, within a couple of, I'd say within an hour after this recording, however long it takes to get downloaded and re-uploaded. So, well, Lucie, we only got about 5 minutes left. I know we're a little pressed here.
Let's speed through it.
Yeah, we'll go through it, and then hopefully we have a minute or two for questions.
Fantastic. Okay, we're almost at the end. So the last segment is looking at retention. So here are some data. Oh my God, 400% increased retention rate when manager has a high EQ. That's some motivation there. 79% of employees who quit their job actually cite a lack of appreciation as a major reason for leaving. That's how powerful appreciation, just a single act of noticing when somebody else does something good, can make such a huge difference. And 95%, I had a mistake there, I didn't notice, of employees in organizations were actually another marker of high emotional intelligence culture is they have a sense of belonging. And where the sense of belonging was reported as high, 95% were satisfied with their job. And only 2% of those people in those cultures with high emotional intelligence were thinking about quitting. Imagine that. Versus cultures that people felt like they don't belong, they are not appreciated, they didn't feel safe. 26% were thinking about leaving. So quickly, some actions, activities to improve retention, what to do less of, more of. Contempt. Anytime we catch ourselves showing contempt in our body language or verbs, please stop and rub your fingers together or take a deep breath. And it's part of the human nature. So please also, when you have the self-judgment thought, take a deep breath and know that it's part of human experience. Aggressive communication, holding grudges, lashing out at people, envying or fearing other people's success. What we want to do more of, appreciating others and celebrating their growth and wins, providing continuous feedback, including positive feedback, listening to feedback actually from others and asking for their experience. How was it for them? What would they like actually to see or experience so they feel excited about working here? Training and developing others, and actually caring, really caring about what do they need, and providing support, as Stephen already mentioned. Compensating appropriately and acknowledging people. Let me see. And here is a tip. The pizza story I wanted to share, but maybe next time we'll share about that. So what is the one thing you can walk away with from this? Looking really at just if you were to remember at least one thing, how to increase retention, appreciating people. And there are different types of appreciation language. I wish we had more time to actually explore it because I wanted to hear also Stephen's perspective. So maybe a challenge for all of us, kind of a coaching challenge for the next week. See if you can appreciate something both about yourself and about those that you work with or live with every day, at least one thing. Now, quick pause and check in. And basically, I know we are completely running out of time now.
Yeah, we're out of time. we're
we
right
ran
there
out of time. Yes.
Yeah. But that's a really good wrap up. I don't know. I mean, this is your presentation. I'm not trying to control that. But I would say whenever you bring appreciation to the table, and this is the things that Lucie's teaching here are not easy things to do, but they're small actions over long amounts of times that will rewire the way that you think.
Exactly.
Actually increase your emotional intelligence. And one question, so Lucie, the good thing is you've answered most of the questions that we've kind of had come in already. One in particular that I want to ask, and if you have a little bit to close out with, you can, but one thing that I'd love to have answered is how do you identify a high versus low EQ leader in your organization? And then what can you do to improve them if they're low EQ?
Well, I would look at the symptoms. What are some symptoms? What's happening? How would you describe what's happening in your organizations? Be it with your leader. So as emotions are contagious, a lot of the times actually how the leader shows up for their own emotions, how they treat others, kind of sets a tone of the culture in the company. What's acceptable, what's okay, what type of behavior, feedback giving is okay, and what's not. So I would look first at the leader. What kind of behavior when we looked at what are the symptoms? Can they control their emotions? Can they regulate their emotions? When somebody messes up on their team, are they angry at them? Do they show contempt? Or do they show actually empathy and encourage even failing? Because, hey, what can we learn from this? Because acknowledge that somebody did maybe some they wanted to innovate. Okay, this didn't work. What can we learn from it? And focus on learning and growth versus on criticism and blame. Is there more blame? If there's more blame in the culture, wherever you are, there's a symptom of a lower emotional intelligence. If there's more trust, empathy, there's a symptom, kind of a sign pointing to higher emotional intelligence. I would love like specifics so I can give more specific answers. But hopefully,
Well, and that's a broad, I mean, it's a broad thing.
Yeah.
We don't know where, because the other thing about EQ as a manager, anyone can be high and low in their EQ. It's where you're high and low at.
Exactly.
Overall, that makes a difference. And you can have, like, if we put a scoreboard of 0 to 100, yeah, you want to score as high as you can on EQ, but you may have really high EQ and accountability. You may have low EQ and discipline. Those two are going to bash heads.
Yeah.
And you can see that in a manager. If you see a manager who is beating themselves up and others up, but not actually doing what he, she, or anybody needs to do to actually make those actions happen. So raising discipline in that instance is the key, because those two work together. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I'll let you close up here, Lucie, because we're actually over time. But if there's anything else that you wanted to say, we will.
So let me actually, the gift that I promised at the beginning was, we would love to hear actually your feedback. If you would, so my questions for you, and if you could send us the information via LinkedIn message, Steven to myself, or both of us, by this Sunday, October 30th, 11:59, the midnight. Then we'll pick a winner, and you will receive access to the 3 seats for the Positive Intelligence Program, and possibly other surprise. What did you like, and how can we improve? What are some topics even that you would like to know more of in the future? And the third question is kind of, what would support you and your team in increasing performance, engagement, and retention based on what we've shared? I know it was a little bit generic, but don't worry, because we will have more talks that will be more specific. This was like a first umbrella topic. And actually pausing and reflecting, putting all that into practice. What could you commit to do more and do less of to increase your own emotional intelligence? And I would end with this. Thank you so much. Let me pause the presentation here. Okay.
Perfect. Yeah, and then those questions of things that we can improve. I know the internet connection is one of them. We'll take care of that. Typically, we usually go live from a different location. This was just an experiment here, but you got to A/B test everything, right?
Exactly. And so we can also practice being compassionate with ourselves and ask all of you to show empathy for us, because we did the first live, right? It was our first live.
Yeah, this is the first live. I don't see a lot of live masterclasses on LinkedIn, and I know a lot of reason. Zoom's great. Zoom would have made this arguably more easy in some instances, but I wanted to do something a little different, and I wanted to make it to where if you miss the Zoom meeting, you can still come and watch this. Like, this is going to be right here on LinkedIn, which, by the way, to Lucie's offer of 3 free seats for her PQ course here, all you have to do is go watch the video if you don't remember. So like first come, first serve. It's an open book test on that. Feel free to check that out. Again, at the bottom of the screen, we have a resource section scrolling. Right now, there's an ebook in there, as well as a certification link for the EQ course that Take Flight Learning offers, as well as Lucie's link to her PQ course that she does. So we have the EQ, the PQ, the freaking 1-2 punch combination. We have that all in your resource package for you. And then we also have, the recording is going to be in there as well, which I've mentioned a few times now. We had a little bit of problems with the live stream, so there might be some drops in the beginning. That will not be the case with the recording, I assume. So check back for that here in an hour. It should be good. And yeah, we thank everybody here who joined us and commented and hung out. There's going to be more of these. Me and Lucie will definitely join forces, and check out the engaged workforce. So that's a hashtag. And that's my personal hashtag on LinkedIn, but it's also it's my company live show page. And I'll have Lucie on a podcast there, as well as a host of other experts. And if that's something you'd be interested in potentially being a guest yourself, reach out to me. Let me know. I'd be more than happy to chat about that and bring your expertise here to the show. The goal is just to bring value to the platform. We don't want to bring anything outside of that. We want to have value that you can take away and use today. And if you have questions around implementing PQ or EQ, or you want me or Lucie to walk you through those things, we'd be more than happy to chat about what that looks like. Whether or not we do business together, we'd be great to point you in the right direction there. So reach out to us. And that's all I have to say. Lucie, anything else before we sign off here?
Only appreciation for you, Stephen, for putting this together and putting all these resources together and providing them for us and for those to watch. And appreciation actually for those that join us live. Thank you for taking the time, energy to put into yourself, and so also supporting others by developing ourselves. So absolutely. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Lucie. And yeah, we will see you all next time. Thank you for joining.
See you next time. Thank you.